before I call the mover to move the motion, I want to inform members of the House that there will be a 5-minute time limit on all backbench contributions. Depending on progress, it may be necessary to review that during the debate, but we will start with 5 minutes contributions from backbenchers, and I hope the mover will bear that in mind as he introduces the debate. So therefore I call Mr Robert Halfon to move.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I want to make 3 points today. Firstly, that petrol and diesel have never been more expensive in real terms. Secondly, that oil companies are uncompetitive and are not passing on cheaper fuel to motorists. And thirdly, there is increasing evidence that dodgy speculators are rigging the market and forcing up the international price of oil. Now, I should say that this debate is only happening today partly because of the work of Fair Fuel UK, the hard work of Peter Cowell and Quentin Wilson to give a voice to thousands of motorists across the country. And in the space of 2 weeks, they have got 27,000 signatures on this issue. And secondly, the Sun's Keep It Down campaign, the Independent Petrol Retailers Association led by Brian Maddison, but above all, the Backbench Committee, who have found time for these fuel debates that have had a significant influence on government policy, and the many backbenchers who are here today and those who supported me, particularly my honourable friend for Cleethorpes, the honourable member for Strangford, the leader of Plaid Cymru and the leader of the SDLP, the honourable member for Nut Island and
Western Isles.
And the honourable member for Hexham, and I did practice that in my office before I came. And many other MPs have been very active, and as you can see from the motion that is now signed by over 80 MPs, it is from all parties. This is not a party political issue, this is something that affects every single one of us and every single one of our constituents. Now first, the cost of fuel. Now, of course, much of the cost is tax, and we've had many debates on this, and I'm pleased that the government not only cut fuel tax last year, but also stopped 2 planned fuel duty rises, and petrol is 10 pence lower than it would have been than the last government had planned. But despite this, despite the fuel tax freeze, fuel prices are still rising. And the Department for Climate Change and Energy says that in real terms, fuel has never been more expensive. Ladies first.
Thank you very much. I thank my honourable friend for giving way, and I congratulate him and the Backbench Committee for securing this debate today. My constituents in South Derbyshire do not understand why fuel prices are still going up when we hear so often that the actual quote price has gone down enormously. Perhaps my honourable friend is going to make extra points about that in his speech as he carries on.
My honourable friend is a great campaigner against high petrol and diesel prices, and her constituents are very lucky indeed, and she will hear in my remarks exactly what she is saying. And I give way to the honourable friend.
Briefly, I would just like to congratulate the right honourable friend and support him in this motion, but he mentioned the freezing of fuel tax. May I suggest that the government needs to think more about extending this freeze for the foreseeable future, and if necessary, taking funding from other areas where money is being unwisely spent, such as aid to India, a country with its own aid programme. This would help many hard-pressed families and businesses up and down the country.
Whilst I strongly believe that we should cut fuel duty as much as possible, I have to say I'm a passionate believer in overseas aid, and I'm very proud that we have the overseas aid policy that we have.
Order.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This is a vitally important debate. The Minister was not in his place at the start. I wonder if he could rule on whether or not this showed a lack of respect for members of this House and for the public at large.
Fortunately, the Minister is now here to hear the debate, so no further comment is required from myself on that matter. Robert Halfon.
I have to say that I'm disappointed with the honourable lady's point of order, because I made clear that this is not a party political issue. And the Minister could not have done more since he's been in and when he was Apprentice Minister he cares deeply about these kind of issues. I'll give way first to the Honourable Member.
Thank my honourable friend for giving way. Does my honourable friend share my...
I'm sorry, I couldn't see who the honourable gentleman was to call him because he was turning around with his back to me. Can I remind members of the House that it's really important that they face the Speaker, and I believe, not recognising you from the back of your head, Mr Scott, that I can now call Mr Lee Scott.
I apologise, Madam Deputy Speaker, although some people do feel it is my best side. Can I congratulate my honourable friend for securing this debate? Does he share my concerns that this last weekend I happened to be having to drive up to Manchester, and I noticed that on the M1 petrol from a same dealership in Manchester or in London was some 12 pence dearer? There should surely be no explanation for this whatsoever.
Well, my honourable friend is right, and he will hear what I have to say, and I hope that he will agree with what I have to say later on. I'm going to just go on a little bit. Now, I believe, as we've said, we need to cut taxes on fuel, but the oil market makes up nearly half the pump price. The oil companies have to bear their share of responsibility as well. And if you don't believe me, listen to what the former head of Tesco said to Terry Leahy. Filling up the family car has gone up by 70% in 2 years, causing what was a steady recovery to go sideways. Yes, the Eurozone is difficult, and so is the overhang of debt. But it is expensive energy that is really hurting people on low incomes and crushing our economic recovery. Now, second, the oil companies. DEC data, Department of Energy and Climate Change, from their quarterly energy prices release, makes it clear that there is now a 3-week delay between a fall in oil prices and a drop in petrol prices at the pump. But, even accounting for this, a dossier from the website I founded, petrolpromise.com, proves that cheaper oil was not passed to UK motorists for most of the last years. And this is particularly true of April, July, September, October, November and December 2011, and March, April and May 2012. And that is 9 out of the last 18 months. I'll just go on a little bit. In July 2011, I will give way to both honourable ladies. In July 2011, oil prices fell by 5%, but petrol prices were unchanged. And then in March this year, oil prices fell by 5%, but petrol prices rose by 10%. Why? I'll give way to one of your friends.
I thank my honourable friend. I will allow my honourable friend to give the answers. He's doing so well so far. Would you agree with me? At this present moment, today, in Cranfield, in my constituency, I have students who cannot take their place at Bedford College. And one of the reasons why they cannot do this is because whereas their family used to be a 2-car family, and there was a second car for a parent to transport them and enable them to, now lots of families are going down to 1 car, and it's having a huge impact because the cost of petrol has increased so much and it's impacted on families so badly.
Well, my honourable friend is right, and in my concluding remarks I am going to say that this is not about just economics. Of course economics is important to us. The reason why I'm here today is because I believe this is about social justice, and I believe that the poorest, high petrol prices are hurting the poorest far more than the rich.
And I'm very grateful that the gentleman's being exceptionally gracious with his time. Could I also remind him, though, that in rural constituencies such as mine, Devizes, it is particularly difficult because A, we do not have the level of competition amongst petrol stations that might drive prices down, and B, we are very, very dependent on our cars. We don't have public transport options. So it's particularly hurting those in rural areas, in my view.
Well, this is exactly, my honourable friend puts the nail on the head, she's exactly right, and this is why we need to have an Office of Fair Trade inquiry. And I'm going to go on a little, if I may. I'm going to go on a little, if I may. I will in a bit. Now, when the oil price rises, it is a different story. In December last year, oil prices rose by a fraction. Instantly, fuel rose at the pumps faster and higher. Now, no market is perfect, but the question for oil wholesalers to answer is this: why are they always benefiting rather than smaller forecourts or the consumer?